Hello everyone. In this video I'd like to give some general feedback on the drafts that I'm seeing of the inquiry reports and some needs for revision. First of all, let's take a look at just what revision means. It's not just correcting comma errors or punctuation errors or spelling errors. It means totally reviewing, revisioning, re-looking at your paper, looking at your content, moving things around substantially, taking a second look at your topic and the genre itself. This is not just a band-aid on a paper. This is a substantial reworking. And as you revise your inquiry report, please remember the traits or the characteristics of this particular kind of writing, this particular genre. This is journalism, so you need to think like a reporter. As you write, you'll remember to use short paragraphs. That means 1 to 2 sentences each. You're going to organize by subtopic, not by your resource. You'll use primary sources. That means properly blended quotations, experiences, personal examples, and anecdotes. You'll want to keep it balanced and show all perspectives, all sides, and neutral and third person. This is not persuasive. Remember to show your conclusion and to use journalistic text features. So let's take a look at what that means. For example, with inquiry style, you're going to have short paragraphs and not an extensive research report. And I can tell very quickly if I get a draft like this with long paragraphs, the person has worked very hard, but this is a research report. Very little white space here, very well-developed papers. But in an inquiry report, you're going to have quite a few indents. You're going to have a lot of white space between paragraphs. It just physically looks different. So remember that you have the same content or same types of content, but it's not structured the same. The background information is still needed, but you want to keep that brief, 2 to 3 sentences. If your introduction is 5-7 sentences long, you're going with a research report. The ideal is to show a personal example that is one of many of the kind of status quo you're trying to discuss. For example, this is a research report introduction. By contrast, here is an inquiry introduction. So we've got a specific example. Anise Fournier was an active and talented 14-year-old girl from Maryland who died after consuming 2 Monster energy drinks in 24 hours. Although she had a heart condition before drinking the energy drinks, there was no warning or label preventing her from drinking the Monster drinks. Then we transition to the background information that gives the reader the context. While Fournier's tragic death is relatively rare, consumption of highly marketed energy drinks and concerns about their consumption are not. Energy drinks are growing popular in America. Between 2008 and 2012, sales of energy drinks increased by 60% in the U.S. An estimated 68% of 12 to 18-year-olds consume caffeinated drinks in the U.S. So you can see we've got a personal example that is leading to our general statement of background information. That is what you're aiming for. Remember that you don't want to organize by your research source. You want to organize by subtopic. If I can go through, and paragraph 1 is from my database article said, paragraph 2 is my interview said, paragraph 3 is another interview said, well, that's not where you're headed. You want to organize by subtopics. So this is what I've seen in a few papers. I also read this article, then I interviewed this friend. This is not what we're aiming for. However, if we wanted to look at the topic of ADD medication, some of the issues might be side effects. Do ADD medications make people uncomfortable? An issue might be, do they work? Another issue might be, are there alternatives? And those are the major sections of your paper, not your research sources. Remember that as you go from one topic to another, you want smooth transitions. Conjunctive adverbs, signal words, and introductory phrases and clauses. So in this paper, for example, on procrastination, you see several conjunctive adverbs that are making the paper follow more smoothly. Also remember that you want to describe your conclusions after investigating, not your experiences as a researcher. Nobody cares what article you found or what article you viewed. They want to know what the article said. So let's take a look at what that looks like. This is the kind of paper we don't want. This is a transcript of the interview. I interviewed these students. Here's my transcript. I also did some research, and this was the question I found. We don't want to hear about you doing the research. We don't want to hear about you doing the interview. We want to hear what you as a journalist found out. So just tell us what these students said. Don't tell us that you researched this or that you interviewed these students. As you find your findings, you share your findings, remember you're going to have lots of quotations. So it's a question for you. Do you have 5 to 6 quotations in your paper? If not, you probably haven't done a good job of using those primary sources. Do you have 2 to 3 specific people's stories and experiences? Probably you need at least that many to show the perspectives. If not, that's what you need to add when you revise. So here's a paper that is very well done. We start off with this story, 10-year-old Jack Everett, and it's kind of getting cut off here, but Jack Everett has been playing soccer. Then we quote his mother. Then we quote someone else who also played youth sports. And then we come down and we make a conclusion after these 3 people's lives have been cited. So remember that you're going to have lots and lots of quotations from several different people. As you blend those quotations, think about what's important and remember to introduce them. Do not simply drop a quotation into the text. You must blend it. You must introduce it, either with a full sentence introduction followed by a colon or making your quotation part of the sentence. And here's how that might play out. This is a text on sports and parent involvement in sports. And there's a quotation here. His grandmother tells him that you were a star, but now you're shattered. That's one way of doing it, just sharing the whole sentence. Here's a sentence where he said, we noticed the cultural shift where, quote, a parent's moral worth may be evaluated by their children's successful participation. And that quotation is just nicely integrated here. We've got a reference here followed by the period. And a last example, Mark Hyman, author of Until It Hurts, perhaps says it best, colon, and then the quotation. So be sure that your quotations are, in fact, well integrated. Remember to keep it balanced and cover the perspectives of the major people involved in that issue. So, for example, if you're doing energy drinks, you really need to have quotations from manufacturers, physicians, consumers, parents. You need to have a good balance on that. If you don't have everybody's perspective represented, time to go back, revise, get some more information. Similarly, for tanning salons, you would want to have perspectives of the owners of those tanning salons who are making money off of this, the consumers, the people who are using them, doctors, skin cancer patients, the regulators from the government. You'd really want to cover the issue by showing the perspectives of everyone connected to that issue. Remember to stay neutral and objective. This is not persuasion. This is not an opinion essay. You are the reporter saying what all of those other people think. So that means you're not going to insert things like this. Pushing your children is not a good idea. That's the writer's opinion. Or, my outlook is, if your son or daughter's not born to play, we don't really care about your outlook in this paper. We care what other people think, and that's what your job is to do as a reporter. You're reporting on what other people think. Remember, it's also not a narrative. We don't care about your personal experiences in this type of writing. There's a place for that. The This I Believe essay, a narrative, a memoir. But this isn't any of those genres. This is where you're writing simply facts about other people's thoughts and perspectives. So we don't want to say things like, well, when I was 10 years old, my coach wasn't yelling and cussing at me. Or, I don't like bus trips that much. We don't care about your personal perspectives. Likewise, we don't really care in this genre about your research perspective. Here this person says, I cannot describe the things coaches do. It's too hard to say. You just need to watch it yourself. Wrong. Your job in this type of writing is to explain what those things are. Explain it for the reader. Your job is to explain it well and to describe it well. Remember that because this is third person, you are not supposed to be using I, you, me, we. You're supposed to keep it third person, objective. So, I've seen quite a few introductions that look something like this. Did you know that you, or have you ever wondered, or maybe you feel that you does not belong in this essay or this report unless it's part of a quotation. This should be third person. So how does that look? Well, here's one that did a really nice job of looking at the general principle, the background, and then going into a specific example that gives that principle. So this person says, beauty comes in many forms, shapes, and sizes, but how far are you willing to go to become socially acceptable in today's society? To become their ideal self, people will go through extreme measures such as plastic surgery, weight loss, beauty products, and so much more. And then goes on about Nadia, a 14-year-old girl who became a victim of bullying and goes to plastic surgery. Well, the you is very subtle in this, but it still doesn't belong here. So we would change it to something like this. In the pursuit of what is socially acceptable, how far is too far in today's society? And that should be corrected there. But the idea is just simply take out the you and tell it through a third-person story. Remember that your goal is to show the bottom line, your conclusion, after researching this topic. So think about how you end up. This is the final conclusion on a paper about youth and sports. And the writer questions, do the problems of youth sports outweigh the benefits? Or do the benefits of youth sports outweigh the problems? The bad and ugly is easy to find in youth sports, but there are a lot of good things about it too. In the end, it is up to each individual to weigh things. That is this writer's conclusion. You are coming to a conclusion after researching the problems, the benefits, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. You are coming to a conclusion. Lastly, you'll want to remember text features as part of your paper. So if you revise and you don't have these, you need to revise to include these. That would be bullet lists or text boxes that have a separate related topic that's inserted, graphs, charts, pictures or images, and subtitles or headings. We'll take a quick look at what this would look like. Here's one on the circuses. And so this person has just added a picture in here to enhance the text. That is characteristic of this genre. This person is writing about procrastination and has a subtitle in here that says it's all about the genes, prior to discussing whether some of us are just predisposed by our genetic variations to be procrastinators. Here's another one. We've got a picture image. This person is writing about beauty in Korea, and this person has a picture of the before and the after the beauty treatments with a little caption on that. And then there's a subtitle here. These are all very much characteristic of the genre. So, as you go back and revise your paper, remember to fit what is our genre. Look for those short paragraphs. Get that personal quotation in. Get all of the transitions that make it make sense. Keep it neutral, objective, and use your text features. If you have any questions, be in touch.